There was a road outside the town of Everfield that never appeared on maps, not because it was hidden, but because it only existed for those who were searching without knowing exactly what they were looking for. Locals rarely spoke about it. Travelers never planned to take it. And yet, from time to time, someone would find themselves standing at its beginning, unsure how they arrived there but certain they were meant to continue. Caleb Hart discovered the road on the day he decided to quit his job without a backup plan. For years, he had lived responsibly, predictably, and quietly dissatisfied. His life looked complete from the outside, yet felt unfinished on the inside. That evening, instead of driving home, he followed a narrow turn he had never noticed before. The road was simple, no signs, no markings, just asphalt stretching forward with calm determination. As Caleb drove, familiar landmarks faded. His phone lost signal. Time felt different, not slower or faster, just less demanding. Eventually, he parked and walked. Along the road, he encountered others, each moving at their own pace. A woman who had left an unhappy marriage but still carried guilt like luggage. An elderly man who walked slowly, speaking softly to memories he was finally ready to forgive. A young artist who had failed publicly and feared trying again privately. They didn't ask each other where they were going. Everyone understood that the road was not about destination. It was about honesty. At one point, the road split briefly, not into directions, but into questions. One path asked, "Who are you trying to become?" The other asked, "Who are you willing to be now?" Caleb stood there longer than he expected before choosing. The choice was not between a past and a future self, but between an idea and a reality, between the weight of expectation and the lightness of acceptance. He thought of the meticulously crafted persona he presented at his job, the careful agreements he made in friendships that avoided depth, the dreams he had politely shelved for a more convenient time. The first path shimmered with a kind of painful nostalgia, a museum of his own potential. The second path was quieter, rougher, and disappeared into a mist that promised nothing but the next step. He realized the question was not about judging the person he had tried to be, but about releasing the grip of that effort. With a breath that felt like his first true one in years, he stepped onto the second path. The road did not applaud or transform, it simply continued, as if the choice had always been part of its fabric. The walking became easier, not because the terrain changed, but because his internal dialogue softened. The stories of the other travelers seemed to weave into his own. The woman's guilt slowly unpacked and left by the roadside like stones she no longer needed to carry, the old man's murmurs becoming a peaceful, smiling silence, the artist beginning to sketch in the dirt with a stick, her face lit not by triumph but by simple engagement. When the road eventually ended, it did so gently, without ceremony, releasing each traveler back into the world, changed, but not dramatically enough for others to immediately notice. Caleb returned to Everfield weeks later. He didn't have all the answers. He didn't need them. What he had was alignment. The road never followed him home. It never needed to. Because some journeys exist only once, and only for those brave enough to walk without certainty. His life in Everfield resumed, yet it was underpinned by a new quietness. He found a different job, one that engaged his hands and allowed his mind to wander creatively. He called an old friend and had a conversation that meandered into real, vulnerable places. He began writing, not with the ambition of publication, but with the purpose of listening to his own thoughts. He sometimes saw, in the posture of a stranger or the weary look of a neighbor, a hint that they too might be searching for that unmapped turn. He never spoke of the road, knowing its nature was to be found, not described. The alignment he felt was not a permanent state of grace, but a reliable inner compass, a subtle knowing that the most important path is often the one that teaches you how to walk, not where you are going. The road existed for the questioning, the release, and the return. And in that cycle, Caleb understood, was a kind of homecoming he had never known to seek.